Welcome to the webinar 10 General Informations about CAPA. To talk a little bit about us, we are a German-based company called qtec. We have more than 80 experts in the field of regulatory affairs, clinical affairs, quality management, and we're here to help you achieve your registration in the EU or your international registration for medical devices or in vitro diagnostics. We are also European representative in case the manufacturer is outside of the EU. We also have a qtec Academy where you can check out our trainings, webinars, free webinars, or a blog. And at the end of this presentation, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. My name is Andreina Piecka and I will be presenting the webinar today. So let's start with the 10 general informations you need to know about CAPA. Point number 1, definition and standard. Let's just start with the basics. CAPA means corrective actions and preventive actions, and it is part of a requirement of the ISO 13485. It is under section 8.5 improvement. Point number 2, what needs to be done? So according to the ISO 13485, a procedure needs to be made available in the organization. The requirement for the corrective actions is that the organization shall take action to eliminate the cause of nonconformities, to prevent recurrences. Any necessary corrective actions shall be taken without undue delay, and corrective action shall be proportionate to the effects of the nonconformities encountered. Then there is the preventive action. The organization shall determine the action to eliminate the causes of potential nonconformities in order to prevent their occurrence, and preventive action shall be proportionate to the effects of the potential problems. Point 3, steps the procedure needs to cover. So there are 6 requirements according to the ISO norm that the procedure needs to document. The first one is reviewing nonconformities, including complaints, to find if there is a CAPA. And then the next step is to do a root cause analysis to determine what caused that nonconformity or potential nonconformity. Then you need to evaluate the need for action. And that action needs to prevent and ensure that the nonconformity does not occur again. The next step is planning, documenting, and implementing the corrective or preventive action. The 5th step is verifying that the action does not impact negatively on the safety, performance, and compliance of the product. And the last requirement is to show evidence of the effectiveness of said actions taken. Point 4, what are the triggers of a CAPA? So the triggers of a CAPA can be, but are not limited to, external audits, internal audit reports, customer complaints, repeated nonconformities, like for example, incoming good inspections, management review results that can trigger a CAPA, resources like personnel and infrastructure. You have supply evaluation reports. These are some examples. The list of what can trigger a CAPA should be included in the procedure as stated on the slide before. It is a requirement of the ISO norm that you review the nonconformities and know what can trigger then a CAPA process. Point number 5, when is a nonconformity a CAPA? This is very important that it is included in the procedure, in the CAPA procedure, as to have very clear when a CAPA should be open. So this list is not limited to what it's written here. These are some ideas. So for example, when an incident occurred Repeated non-conformities happen, potential hazards in a non-conformity that are found when you open the risk analysis for the non-conformity, then you find these potential hazards, and then it can trigger the opening of a CAPA. Deviations to specifications, for example, you have supplier evaluation that occurred and it deviates from what it's expected, or you have incoming good inspection and it deviates from the usual, but it could still be accepted. They need to, you can put it in the list of possible situations that can open a CAPA. Management review results that indicate obviously a potential source of nonconformity that is a CAPA. You can also state in the procedure that the quality management officer, or QMB in Germany, and or PRC decide to open a CAPA based on their experience and based on their evaluation and analysis. Or you can also write or include in the list in the procedure that a panel of experts, and then you have to list what are their titles, always review the nonconformities and they decide what nonconformity is a CAPA. So there are different options here. As I say, these are ideas. You can define your own process when a CAPA is when a nonconformity is a CAPA, but it needs to be documented, as I said, in the procedure. Point 6, root cause analysis. So these are the steps for the root cause analysis that you need to do for your CAPA. So first is to define the problem clearly and establish a timeline of events. You have to collect data and evidence about the problem and its causal factors, identify and prioritize the potential root cause and their effects, and recommend and implement solutions to prevent the problem from happening again. So this here are also some examples of methods that are available. Depending on what kind of problem you have, you should choose which method to use. So you have the Ishikawa fishbone diagram, the Pareto charts, 5 whys, the FMEA, scatter diagram, change analysis, barrier analysis, fault tree analysis. These are all options that you can use as methods to get to the root cause of a problem. You do not need to state in the process, in the CAPA process, which method you use. You can include them as examples, but as long as you define and document well in the CAPA documentation of your of the problem, what method you use and how you arrive to the root cause analysis, there should be no problem in an audit. Point number 7, verifying what impact the CAPA actions had on the product. As we saw before, one of the requirements that the process of CAPA needs to document is that the verification that the action taken does not negatively impact the safety, performance, and the compliance of the product. So how can you do this? It is important. You don't have to define this in the procedure, but you should define that in the template that you're going to fill out for the CAPA. You can verify this by, for example, opening the risk analysis of the product and seeing if there's any new hazard, risk, or control measure affected by the action taken. You can also, depending on what non-conformity you had, what CAPA you had, opening the production FMEA. You can also go over the regulatory documentation for general safety and performance of the product and seeing if there's any issue or anything that needs to be changed. And these are examples of how you verify the impact of the product. Point number 8, evidence of effectiveness. This is the last requirement that the ISO norm has for the procedure of CAPA. So you need to verify the effectiveness of a CAPA, and the way to do that is you need to measure it. But depending on the problem, you have two types of data available for this evidence. You have the qualitative or the quantitative data. So let's go into defining them and then giving you some examples of what you can use. So you have the qualitative data, and the qualitative data is you get insight and understanding of the actions taken for the resolution through the collection of narrative data. So that means for your CAPA records, you can show evidence of effectiveness by showing, for example, training records. You can also show evaluations from experienced personnel. You can have focus groups, documentation that shows the effectiveness that the group evaluated. You can also have, in general, record keeping that shows a trend. You can also have observation over a period of time and then a report on it. You have gap analysis also to show qualitative data. The other data is the quantitative data, which explains, predicts, and or check the developments through target collection of numerical data. So what examples are here? Everything that you can measure. For example, a physical object that can be measured can be used as quantitative data. You also have laboratory test results or any data that shows directly a measurement done or a test done. You have also calculations that you can use if possible. Projection of data can also be put as quantitative data, and you have quantification of qualitative entities. So if you collect a lot of the above qualitative data, you can also say showing this 5 entities of qualitative data, we can reach the and all of them were filled out, we can reach the conclusion that 100% of the requirements, the actions were checked and the effectiveness was verified. It is very important that you know that any aspect can be somehow measured, either qualitative or quantitative. What is important is that you identify the target elements that determine the effectiveness of the implemented action, because that's what's going to help you choose the data that you can put together and show as evidence. Point number 9, CAPA Trend. This is a reminder that please be aware that the amount of CAPAs per year, as well as the amount of time it takes to close them, should be closely monitored. For example, that happens in the management review. In case a negative trend is identified, it can also trigger the opening of a CAPA. So this is also important to have a reminder of. And we have reached the last point, number 10. CAPA is a tool. So CAPA is a very useful tool to investigate and solve quality problems and to take appropriate and effective corrective and or preventive actions. It should not be something to fear. It is just part of the quality management system, just like deviations, non-conformities, and management reviews. It is just a tool to be used and should not be seen as something to not do or something to prevent. With this, we have reached the end of our webinar. I hope the information has helped you. Thank you very much for your attention, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. Have a great day. Bye.